Hello. Welcome to Sugar, Silk and Stretch, an extremely amusing podcast brought to you exclusively by its Podcast Nation. My name's Ben Doty.
Oh my God.
It's a car crash.
My name is Michael Silkolajide.
And his friend Gary Stretch.
All right, cheers, boys. Listen, guys, we've already been thrown a curveball tonight in England and today in your kind of part of the world, because we expected to have former two-weight world champ Greg Horgan. We were very much looking forward to a rare audience with Greg. But he's gone quiet today, so we're forced to make a contingency of a show. We apologise to anybody who's tuned in specifically for Greg. He may come in a bit later. We hope so. You know, sometimes that's been known to happen. But in the meantime, we're kind of reduced to talking about the fight games sort of recent rumblings, lads. I know, Gary, before we go there, do you have any questions? Like, can you tell us some of the questions you were going to ask him? What are the most? You are so fucking random, Silk. I swear to God. It's a good job I love you. He said, Gary, get this right. We're doing a thing. I'm trying to be professional. I'm going to say, let's do this. Try and lead the show and compensate the disappointment. He goes, what were you going to ask him if he was here? All right, I'll tell you. Just because it's you. All right.
Yeah. I'll pretend I'm him.
There we go.
I'll answer his questions and we'll say it was him.
All I would ask is that we don't burn out and air all of our Greg Horgan questions before he ever turns up. But what I was going to say, Michael, to get things rolling, if you'd allowed me, I don't know, you might have come in first with something, you know, just right off the top of your head. But I was going to say, Greg, it's impossible to mention your name without somebody mentioning the legendary Tough Man contests, which spawned you in Anchorage, Alaska. And I'd just like to, to hear your recollections of those days, on that circuit where I hear you often box guys who were like 300 pounds and all the rest of it. How was it back then? That was my first question.
Interesting. He did that in Alaska, right? Anchorage?
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
That wasn't before his amateur career, though, was it?
It was probably running concurrent to the amateur career, I guess. So,
but that would be a pro fight. He couldn't fight pro and fight amateur.
It was probably considered unlicensed still. Do you have that in America? Gary knows what I'm talking about here. For many years in England, we had unaffiliated shows, which we called unlicensed. The standard was not terribly good a lot of the time, but some of them, Michael, were really decent pros who might have failed their medical for the British Boxing Board of Control. So it was called unlicensed, but they weren't illegal, but they wouldn't go on any database of records. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, in the States, you weren't allowed to do that.
Do you not have unlicensed boxing in the States? You must have.
No.
Isn't that weird, Gary?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they not underground.
Yeah, I mean, no, they all has to be like a medical professional in there, and you know what I mean. It's like you can have like a tough man contest, that kind of thing, but that's considered a pro fight. You're getting paid for it.
Look what Joe said here. He said, "Why did nobody else fight on the card Greg turned pro on, or his second bout?" If he was here, of course, he said he was going to ask him that. So maybe that was something of a shady show. We're very limited credibility.
Okay, well, I was going to ask him. First thing I was going to ask him was the Chavez fight. That man is usually as calm as a yogi before the bell rings, but Greg had him jumping up and down like a Watusi warrior or something. Like, what did you say to him? that made Chavez so friggin' angry because.
Well, Greg was pretty good at kind of trash talking and mouthing off if he needed to. I don't suppose he instigated it often, but he was, him and Pazienza got into it a lot. I remember that.
Yeah, not just Vinny. Yeah, I mean, Vinny's hot, right? So he's very passionate about his thing. So if you see something to Vinny, it doesn't matter who you are. I mean, even look when he was fighting Roy Jones, right? And they were going at each other in the ring, not just physically, but talking.
I'm quite glad that our interview with Paz went as well as it did, because I've spent quite a lot of time in the last few years saying I cannot stand that disingenuous *5 thing. Was he a world champion 5 times? My arse. And a few people have tagged Vinny in my things previously saying, this limey is dissing you and all the rest of it. So I thought we did pretty good, Silk, back in Atlantic City. It was funny. You said, and I said as well at different times, you were multiple world champion, and he never said ×5, so we never had to go there. You know, that was cool.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't know how many times it was anyway, because I don't really run like that, but I know that he was a world champion. That's kind of how I look at it.
What's them balloons?
Fuck knows, Gary. I just saw the balloons go past me, and I'm like, what the hell happened there? I think that was for every time you win a title, you get a balloon. It was 3. Well, I don't know, Gary. Your guess is as good as mine. Does anybody who's watching tonight, can you shed any light on that? Is that a YouTube reaction from the fans that you give us balloons?
It sounded like a robot behind you. What was that?
I don't know what that sound was. I thought it was something to do with you.
No, that was me. That was a motorbike went by the window.
Okay, at least we've solved the mystery of the motorbike, but not the balloons. Yeah. Guys, Gary, you said to me backstage, as it were, off camera, you were interested in the situation with Ryan Garcia's next fight, which seems to be a very confusing situation, where he said he's definitely fighting Rolly Romero on a certain date, and then it's since been announced that Romero is fighting. I think he's fighting. Who is Romero fighting? He's fighting somebody else instead. My mind's gone blank.
He's the little tank, Pitbull.
Isaac Cruz. He's fighting Isaac Cruz, right?
Oh,
Still,
wow.
keep your head in the middle, please. So we've only got one eye. You've only got one eye when you're doing that.
Oh, am I doing that again?
Tell you why I asked the question, Ben, because I was we were at the recent Fury Ngannou press conference. Joshua. We was at me and Ben was at the recent Fury and Ngannou and AJ presser, and a question was brought up about Oscar De La Hoya saying he was not letting his fighters, didn't think it was a positive to go to Saudi and all this rubbish, right? And the His Excellency Turkey Ali, whatever his name is, he said, "We'll miss you."
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting? Now, all of a sudden, this Ryan Garcia situation.
Wait, 1 second. What's his name?
Turkey Al Sheikh.
Turkey Al Sheikh.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so there was an if that's Oscar's position, he's obviously, if he's going to limit the monetary gains of his fighters by being out of this whole circus that's going on in Saudi, which I think is great for the sport if you can put better fighters together.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a few things that have come up, and it's a subject that is concerning regarding Oscar and his promotional company Golden Boy. Like, if that fight has fell through, is the Oscar Golden Boy situation coming to some kind of is there some kind of tremor going on there with Golden Boy,
Possibly so, but I think any reluctance on De La Hoya's part to take part in the Saudi kind of phenomenon could soon be smoothed over, and I'm sure he could stand down from that position if it made sense. What I am aware of, specifically related to Ryan Garcia, is there's literally no goodwill between the two of them and very little communication, it seems, because Garcia said he was definitely fighting Rolly Romero on a certain date. And then it was announced, like you say, that he's fighting Isaac Pitbull Cruz Romero on March 30th, which is supposed to be Al Heyman's first PBC card with Amazon Prime on a view on this new platform. And he said, people have misled him and lied to him. De La Hoya said, I'm about to announce something really big for Ryan. But they seem like they hate each other, or certainly that Ryan hates the promoter.
Do you know the contractual commitment they have?
It's obviously got some time to run. I'm not sure how long, to be honest, Gary. But he's obviously tied in to a contract he doesn't want to be in.
Because I saw him with Mayweather, very close, Garcia, not long ago. They were walking through Vegas together. Yep. And Mayweather was promoting Ryan Garcia like he was going to manage him and fight. He said, we're going to do great things together and all this. So I thought, and then Oscar commented on it. It was a negative comment, of course, like you shouldn't be even discussing your career with Mayweather. So I just wondered what that's all about. And if right, I would imagine, based on the YouTube video I saw of Garcia and Mayweather, that's the next stop for Garcia.
Maybe so, depending on how long he's tied to Golden Boy, What do you make of it, Silk? I mean, does Ryan Garcia have the potential to become that kind of banner carrying star in boxing, or do you think his limitations have been exposed to a degree already?
He's talented. I think if there needs to be a change in him, it needs to come from the level of like his training.
His commitment.
I'm sorry.
His commitment more so.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, sometimes, hey, listen, it's human nature to take the easiest route, right? And so that tends to be. I think that kind of is going to be the way it goes. Like, just find the path of least resistance to get back to a stature where it's, you know what I mean, where he's comfortable.
Do you think because there is a pattern of this, Silk? I'd love to know your view. It's often that naturally gifted fighters are lazy, and and one would say just two kids, one works hard and makes it, and one's naturally gifted and makes it. Often the guy who works hard stays there longer. But why do you think the gifted kid should be less motivated? It'd be great that he was as motivated and
he didn't have to try as hard to excel initially, perhaps when he initially started to attract people to him, like talent scouts or.
I don't know if that's it. I think sometimes it's just a matter of like, it's just the nature of the individual. I've seen very talented people work extremely hard. And because they work extremely hard, they end up, maybe they burn their candles from both ends, or maybe they just are out of fuel or can't, you know what I mean? Like our adrenal stores have a lot to do with how long you can get up for a fight. And once those adrenal stores are empty, everything, you just become normal. Absolutely pedestrian. Like, so that super talented individual, once all those adrenal stores are used up, you become normal, pedestrian, and it looks like you're not doing the same things you used to do, but it's just not physically or mentally possible because the adrenaline isn't there like that anymore. You don't become as resilient, or you're not as resilient as you were, and you're not as you don't get up as much, and the adrenaline sort of like masks the pain, so you start feeling the pain of things, and once you start feeling pain, that causes you to fight a whole different type of fight. So a lot of people wonder, well, why isn't he like that? He used to be like this, that, and the other. And they think it's age and time, and it's not really that. I mean, I guess the adrenal stores being emptied could be over time, but not necessarily. It can happen when you're really young too. That's why you get burnout at 25, 26. Guys have been through wars, and it's like now you're in a war and you're like, oh my God, like this again. And you just
did you experience that in your career when you suddenly thought, my God, this hurts?
Yeah, absolutely.
You did?
I felt it. Yeah. Like I remember when I got hit when I was younger, and I got hit by some monsters, and I
shook it off.
Yeah. But but as I got, and I got hit by people in the gym, and I got hit by, not only did my body sort of like wasn't as resilient, like physically, like, you know what I mean? Like you'd bruise easier, or you'd cut easier, or that kind of stuff. But that there's that physical mental balance that is just, it's imbalanced. It's just not the same anymore.
Can you relate to it, Gary?
Yeah, I guess.
You only had one fight after Chris Eubank, obviously, so I have to put it in that context. But
what is the exact question, though?
Well, Silk says he found a time in his career when suddenly, as per his theory, that the adrenal stores eventually exhaust themselves, when he felt that punches just hurt like they didn't used to, and he wasn't as resilient as he used to be, he wasn't as quick as he used to be, and he just didn't have that edge anymore, and there was nothing he could do about it.
I don't think I had that experience. I got out the game after Eubanks because of the business, not because of the boxing.
Yeah. You had more left in you, and I guess that's the difference. Michael probably doesn't feel he did have.
Yeah, and Michael had a bit longer career, harder career than me. He fought more fights, I think, and probably better quality fighters. I only fought really Eubanks, who was really the world class
top liner. Yeah.
But sadly, I never got a chance to fight someone world class at my weight. You know what I mean? Because I would have loved that. I was booked to fight who's the big, tall, skinny southpaw? At my time, I was supposed to go to Paris twice and fight him. Michael
Santos.
Michael Nunn.
Oh, Michael Nunn. Oh, yeah.
Former guest on this show.
2 fights lined up with him, and 2 fights they pulled out for whatever reason, injury or whatever. And then Gianfranco Rossi, I was trying to get the fight with him. We could never get it done. We offered to go to Italy, and so I had a lot of people avoid me because, I don't know, at junior middleweight, I think tall, bit of a semi-puncher, southpaw is not the ideal opponent for anyone, you know. So if there's easier routes, they took them, I think. So, but my regret is I never got to fight at that level. But I got out the game strictly on the business side of it. Just turned me off.
How old are you? How old were you when you got out?
Mid-20s.
Mid-20s? Same with me. I was finished boxing 25, 26, which is kind of
young.
What made me, I think, a decent fighter was I was stubborn. But that was my detriment because I felt I got ripped off by the promoter, and I said, "You'll never earn another dollar from me." So that meant I won't fight.
Yeah, that means you're not making.
I didn't realize I wouldn't earn another dollar, you know.
Yeah,
but exactly. I said, out of principle, you will never earn another dollar. I remember Jarvis Astor invite me to Marbella on his boat, and I was a young kid, and I couldn't even afford the flight. And I and my predecessors bought the boat, you know. And I remember saying, "This is crazy. Like his business is boxing, and look how much money he's earned, and the fighters have got nothing." And I remember walking down the street, being a champion, British champion, and people asking me for my autograph, and I was broke. You know, I was lucky that I soon wasn't broke, but it was mostly because of the endorsements I did outside of boxing. That's in boxing at that time for me. I was not making money boxing. Not like I was making decent, not to today's standards, but I was making some money. But the amount of fights, imagine 2 fights a year, it doesn't last long, that money, you know, or 3 fights a year maximum when you get up to the title fights. And there was really not that money. It's incredible the money they're making now. It's I wish I was here now, but you know.
Imagine that as well, because imagine with social media today, with someone who is as marketable as you were, and you, Silk, as well. You can only wonder what advantages you might have made of the social media situation if you'd both been starting out today as young pros.
Imagine the fight with me and Silk. He's sponsored by Max Factor, and I'm sponsored by L'Oréal. And it would be whose makeup drips first, you know. It would be.
Imagine that fight, yeah. That
would be a good one.
Well, yeah, no. The problem in my day, as you know well, Ben, was 2 networks, and each promoter had the network.
BBC and ITV.
Yeah, and if you was not with either, no one ever sees you anyway. So so they could do whatever deal they want, because if you're not with them, no one's going to see you fight anyway. So you had to take one of the lesser evils. So they had you buy the balls. They could tell you what you're getting paid. Whereas now it's changed. But
it has, because you know when Terry Lawless, Mickey Duff, Jarvis Astor, and Mike Barrett had a stranglehold on British boxing in the 1970s until they were challenged by Frank Warren, who ended up cutting himself a big swathe of that market against the odds with an uphill battle. Fighters then, Charlie Magri said he didn't even know he was supposed to be getting TV money. He didn't know that was a thing. He thought he was.
I think it's 22%. And I had every fight I had was on TV, and I never got $1 from TV. I only found out later that it's 22%. I met a guy in a bar who worked for one of the TV networks that was doing all my fights, and he's like, and we ended up talking, and he told me the numbers 22%. And that was part of the deal that when I left, I said, "Where's my fucking TV money?"
Yeah.
Well, no. I said, yes.
Who was your first manager?
My first manager was Mike Barrett.
Yeah, exactly. So you were part of that cartel thing. Yeah, that's what they called themselves. They called them the cartel. And they had everything sewn up in the 1970s stroke early 80s. Then Frank Warren came along in the early 80s. And, he got hold of Joe Bugner at first, a comeback in Joe Bugner. And Warren said the biggest problem at the time was that there was no venues to promote him because the cartel had exclusive deals with Wembley and the Royal Albert Hall, which were the big boxing venues back then. So he was promoting Joe Bugner at the Bloomsbury Crest Hotel, which is quite a nice-ish hotel in central London, but it's not the Royal Albert Hall. Or
Do
Wembley.
you know who owned Wembley?
Say again?
Do you know who owned Wembley?
Who owned Wembley at the time?
Jarvis the Star.
You kidding me? Did he actually owned it? I didn't realise he owned Wembley Stadium. No,
Yeah,
I know he was very
That's
successful.
why I love Ambrose Mendy, because Ambrose came in. I know Warren, broke up the thing, which was very healthy with boxing when he came in, give people an option from the Mickey Duff.
Yeah,
went on a third splinter when Ambrose came in and pretty much took on both of them, and did an incredible job with Nigel.
Ambrose Mendy, Michael, is someone we want to get on the show. I've spoke to you about him before, but he was quite a maverick. He first hit the boxing consciousness in the mainstream because he was Nigel Benn's agent. The British Border Control wouldn't give him a license, so they wouldn't license him as a manager despite several applications.
And
so
why
he was
not?
acting as an. So why?
Why not?
He said it was racism. That was one of the claims, the charges he made against them.
Because he had a brain.
If your face doesn't fit in it, Gary, and they think you might,
And Ambrose is super eloquent and super smart, and
you would love him, Silk.
I would have loved to have been with Ambrose. I should have been smart back then and gone to him, because he'd have probably took me. I was a perfect fighter for him, but he was so wrapped up around Ben. Him and Ben were like brothers, they took on everybody, and he was just a brilliant marketer. Ambrose, he was just someone you want to be around, because he was like a black James Bond,
He was, and he's one of the most fascinating, interesting people I've ever met in boxing. Anytime I bump into him on the streets, we always stop for a coffee for an hour, unless one of us has got an urgent appointment. I do want to get on the show to give you a taste of him, Michael.
And what's great about him is he's one of the chaps. Like he's had a life, so he's not intimidated by any of these fuckers. They can't, he'll take them on. He'll take them on intellectually.
Is he still involved in boxing?
I wish.
You know what? Most recently he was involved, relatively recently, as James De Gale's advisor for a long time, up until the point that De Gale fought. I think it was Andre Durrell. He suddenly wasn't involved. But do you know?
A girl fought Durrell.
Huh?
A girl fought Durrell.
James De Gale.
Oh,
right. Can we cut that one up as one of the funny ones for Instagram for 60-second reel? That'd be good. Especially the way I sounded so pissed off.
You said a girl. Okay, sorry, my bad.
You've heard of James De Gale, right?
No.
You are kidding me.
No, you said James the girl. I was like, who?
Like, I know. I'm asking you. Have you heard of James
you were
De
trying
Gale?
to talk Rasta, trying to impress him.
Have you not heard of James De Gale?
I know. Who is he?
He was an Olympic gold medalist who won world titles as a pro, with super middleweight world titles, fought Andre Durrell in the States. Final fight was against Chris Eubank Jr. He's a very well-known fighter here. His first defeat was to George Groves. He beat Lucien Boutte. He was a world champion.
You know what? There was a time in boxing when I was so caught up in my own world that I didn't in the middleweight, the super middleweight division. I just kind of like disconnected from that for some reason. It wasn't. I mean, I don't think James Toney was there in the super middleweight.
Was you a breaker downer? Did you get videos of your opponents and break them down?
No, I didn't really get a lot of that. I mean, once I got to not really. We didn't do that work. It was our training was very much like arcane, like the old days. Like
4 rounds of this, 4 rounds of that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, like you get in there and you just you sparring for conditioning and for getting in shape and to learn to slip punches. But yeah, I never until I started fighting with Angelo Dundee and Hector Roca did I start using a style that would be like the person I'm going to fight.
It's funny. There's a guy, remember Eric Guy?
Yes, of course.
He used to video everything, right?
Yeah.
And I used to call Eric, he'd get me the video. I used to, when I could, if there was footage on guys, and because for me, I would sit and watch my opponent 2-3 fights and then say, I know exactly how to beat him. And then normally, like 9 times out of 10, it worked,
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, even with Eubank, I watched him, and if you look at the fight, I mean, there's different opinions, but for the 5 rounds before, not that I was beating him on the scorecards, but what I was doing to him was nullifying him. It wasn't letting him get off with what he normally got off with. If you look at the Ben Watson or the Eubank Watson, Eubank Ben, 5 rounds, there was such dynamics, people getting hit, people getting hurt, but it was like crazy fight, right? With me, there was none of that. He was non-effective at all. And so I broke him down how to de-affect him and not allow him to do what he wants to do. I knew exactly how to do that. But I just wasn't strong enough to do the other, which was to execute him. But I did it based on just broke him down. I watched his style, watched how he moved, watched how he did what he did, and I thought, nah, I know how to stop him doing that. And I constantly kept going on his left and then changing direction and never let him get set. I would throw short jabs and then long, and you never let him get used to any kind of distance because Eubanks used to get in range, so I would never let him get in range. I'd let him think it was too close, too far. I mean, and I enjoyed that part of the game a lot. I'd sit alone and actually watch it and break it down. And in fact, Michael Watson came to my house before he fought him on the first fight, and we watched on TV together, Eubanks, and we're breaking him down together.
Yeah, I remember seeing Michael Watson like literally a couple of days before that first fight. He was training at Thomas and Beckett. He was just shaking out, you know what I mean, having a really light one, shadow boxing and stuff. And
there's a gentleman named Ray Poplawski who used to provide all the fighters over here in the States with footage on Fighter. And he was amazing. He had everything you could ever ask for.
Those people were so important back in the day, weren't they? And also people like Mickey Duff who knew every fighter and they had the backlog, or Johnny Boss, so they could tell you a biopsy of every fighter, you know, because they didn't have BoxRec. It's so easy these days just to go on BoxRec and see what somebody's done, and to go on YouTube to see if you can find any footage of them, and usually you can. Whereas back in those days, those people were so indispensable, weren't they?
Yeah, they were, but absolutely. No buts. No ifs, ands, or buts. Absolutely. They were.
Yeah.
I mean, the end of the day, it's like, did you need them? I don't know. It's like you get in great shape and they get in great shape and good fighters work it out. You know what I mean?
You have to be able to read it on the night, don't you? Whether you've never even heard of them, you get in the ring and you see you have a problem in front of you and you've got to figure them out.
Yeah, it's like a game of chess and then you work it out. But and often it can be dangerous to look at video because they're fighting people who are not you, so it's different. So
yes,
you get a false read. But it is good to see, you know, obviously footage and see some of the good points that they have. Maybe it was a big left hook, a big right.
You do absolutely. You want to know your fighter's habits.
Yeah,
what the habit is. But you need somebody to sit down beside you and to analyze that, make sure you're bounce it off one another and make sure that's really what is happening. Yeah, but the coach, because when you're by yourself, you can conjure up anything, and you could look at something that looks like a weakness that absolutely is a strength. I mean, it's just.
I tell you, when you guys went to Philly and you called me with Scully in the car, I didn't realize it was Scully. I wish I'd have known. I thought it was a taxi driver. Like I didn't.
You thought it was a taxi driver who just happened to work with Beterbiev and chipped
in.
He
never
mentions
that.
Our name.
He never said that because he said, you know, when he talked about Canelo, he said he never calls us. But I was thinking, for taxi?
The cab firm.
No, but he didn't say the name of Beterbiev. So I just didn't register. It was, I don't know if the line was great, but you put me on and said hello. But you know, Scully is so humble and cool dude, but he's really got a good brain about boxing. You know, when I listened to him interviewed, he's really got a great brain, you know.
Scully is brilliant. Michael calls him
Michael, what do you think makes that I'm not sure if Scully was a great boxer. I'm sure he may have been a good boxer. I'm not sure of his boxing record, but there have been some really good coaches who have not been great boxers, you know.
Freddie Roach.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the first one that comes to mind is always Freddie Roach, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think Freddie's the best coach, to be honest.
Really?
No.
Why not?
Before you say that, Gary, can you get an interview with him now you're in LA and get it for content and say that afterwards?
No, let me tell you something. I don't think he's a bad coach.
No.
I had Freddie before 90% of the guys. He was in my corner with Eubanks. If you look, he looks like he's 12 years old.
Yeah.
But the amazing thing about Freddie, he is a great coach. But great. I look at different kind of coaches when you talk about great. Freddie was the coach in maybe what I am to boxing. He was good, but I wasn't Sugar Ray Leonard, and you can't. But he gets the hype like he's Sugar Ray Leonard, and he's not. What he has, which is incredible, is an ailment, which is Parkinson's disease.
Yeah.
Right, and Parkinson's disease is a
debilitating
disease that you can live with.
Your speech. Sorry.
Well, it affects your physical. Everything. Freddie walks. He has difficulty physical. He can't get out of bed, and that So, but what? So with that thing,
he's still very cognizant.
Yeah, but with that disorder, this problem he has, when Freddie knocks on your door at 5 a.m. with all the ailments about him, you better get up and go running. Because you see, I used to say, my God, like I was exhausted. Freddie'd be there. Freddie'd say, come on, let's go. And he'd be limping, getting in the car. And I used to have such respect for him because I thought he's amazing. Like normal coaches who had any kind of ailment like that would say, see at the gym, they would send someone maybe to run with you. He did everything on his own. He fought the whole way. He struggled physically to do it. He took me on the mitts. He did everything that he shouldn't be doing. And the psychology in that was saying, wow, this man, if he can do it, the least I can do is my side of the bargain. So he's a great motivator. That's his thing. He gets fighters to work. And because what Freddie, I think the one flaw that Freddie has, if he has one, is he's so game himself mentally. He wants all his fighters to be game, and like he loves the fight. And he's not Mayweather who loves defense. Freddie, he loves to go.
That was interesting when he was handing up to Ben Davison in the first Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder fight. Ben at the time was very much encouraging box, move, stick and move, stay out of the way of that power. And Roach was saying, listen, he could stop him if he went after him and went and did a number on him, which, funnily enough, in the rematch, that's what Fury did. But I remember the difference of opinion there between Freddie Roach saying Ben's not a very experienced coach and he didn't realise his man could have won by stoppage.
When I fought Eubanks, first thing he said is get out there and smash this CUNT. He was like, and you know what? Great. Jimmy Tibbs was the same though. Jimmy said, "So we go and smash this." He was like.
But Jimmy does like boxers though, right? He does.
Well, he does. Jimmy's an absolute precision. He likes to. He's a surgeon in the way in which he trains you. But he. What I love about Jimmy, if he's got kids or someone who maybe the 110% don't have belief, Jimmy will give you the belief. I'd rather go and get knocked out than go back to the corner and have to answer to Jimmy for being a pussy. You know what I mean? Yeah. So he'd say, get out there and smash this mug, and you wind you up and out you go. And 3 minutes later, he come back exhausted. He'll wind you up again. And out.
Do you remember when Errol Christie got unexpectedly beat by a guy called Charlie Boston, an American sort of decent kind of road fighter? And when he got decked it was either first or the second round, but it was early doors anyway. And he was in all sorts of trouble. When he got back, I remember Jimmy saying to Errol, he gave him the pep talk. Then just before the bell rang, he said, "Let's not let each other down." And there was something quite threatening about it. Like, come on,
Jimmy, you had to, because when you train with Jimmy, he's very much with you. It's like being your best mate in a street fight, and you don't want to let him down. It's like. You don't want to embarrass Jimmy because Jimmy's very moral. You're his fighter, and so I think Mark's just the same. You saw when the Chisora incident when he threw the table.
Yes, Mark. Yeah,
Mark Tibbs up. He'll have it with anybody. I mean,
Mark threw his microphone at Jerry.
Yeah, and Mark is the nicest human being on the planet. Like you cannot get a kinder, more gentle man than Mark Tibbs, but. Like his dad, if Mark's right, he'll die to be right. He's not gonna. No one's ever gonna put it on Mark Tibbs. He'll die before he lets someone. He will not back down. He's got a great mind. He's got incredible morals. they're good men. The Tibbs family, you know, Jimmy raised Mark very well, and Jimmy's a moral man. Jimmy Tibbs, of all the men I've met, he's the most moral man. Mark's the same, and there's something beautiful about that. You know, they're the guys you want in your corner. If someone said to me, "Got a bat with," you know, I wouldn't take Mike Tyson or Francis Ngannou. I'd take Mark and Jimmy Tibbs.
I was in a bit of trouble once back in 2016. This thing blew up well out of proportion.
Wait. Just once?
Okay, maybe more than once. But I was in a specific bit of trouble in 2016, and various threats are being made, and people were saying this and that, and people were exaggerating what had happened. I don't know if you remember it or not, Michael, but it was pretty public on social media. And then Mark said to me, "Listen, Ben, all them cunts who's threatening you, yeah?" He said, "If any of them want to have a meet, we'll have a meet." He said, "And I promise you, no one will touch you." Which, I mean, I fight my own battles, but that was very touching of him to say that.
No, they're legends and people. All the big gangsters in London, no one fucks Jimmy Tibbs, because unless you want to do 20 years and kill him. You know, if you want to kill Jimmy, fine. But if you don't fuck with him, because he will come back and you're going to get it. So you can't go halfway with Jimmy. If you have a problem with Jimmy, you're going to have to get rid of him, because otherwise, lock your windows, lock your fucking doors, because he'll be back, you know. So no one but you know what most of it is about with Jimmy Tibbs? 99.9% of the time was because he was moral and he was right.
Yeah.
And he would die for that, Jimmy. And he would die smiling, being right. So I think Jimmy's always been a very honest man and a very kind, respectful. So anyone who wants to fuck with someone like Jimmy or Mark, then they are going to get it, and they deserve to get it, because these guys are such good people. Not a bad bone in the body. So
my favorite. It's a shame we couldn't hook up with them when you were here recently. You know, at one point we were going to go down the gym, but we'll have to do that next time you're over.
Yeah, I didn't have the time my schedule was so bad and it was so far, but we can do it for sure next time.
Yeah. So guys, there is a big fight this weekend in Phoenix, Arizona, that pits John Ryder against the undefeated Jamie Munguia. I know you're not overly excited about it, I'm aware, Gary, because I mentioned it off stage and you were like, you said, "I'm not really feeling that one." Do you want to tell me why?
Yeah, John Ryder I like, but I'm not crazy. I'm never crazy about his fights. I often get uncomfortable watching him, because he often takes a lot of punishment, and he's, you know, I have a great respect for him, but I don't particularly enjoy watching him for the fact, I don't know, maybe I don't know why, because I do respect and like him, but I don't like the punishment he takes.
Against Canelo he took a lot of punishment, certainly.
Yeah, and he takes it. Most fights is in wars, you know, and most people say, "Well, that's exciting." Some wars are exciting. The Ryder wars I've seen, I've not found exciting.
So who you taking? What's our?
I don't know the other guy, Ben. To be honest,
what are you asking, Silk?
Who are you taking for it?
What's our collective records? Because we're betting on this one.
Well, listen, before we talk about that, okay, first of all, you've gone there very quickly. Do you not have any foreplay when we do a fight breakdown? You know, you've gone straight into the...
Yeah, I don't have a lot of time. That's...
Okay. Yeah, all right, we're 38 minutes and 43 seconds in. That's changed as I said it. But listen, all right, Gary, I'm appealing to, you know, you as a kind of tribunal here. He's asking what our totals are. Now, I want to describe something to you without any interruptions from you in the middle, sir. I'm going to describe the case to him and see what Gary thinks, right? Last week,
are we still on this? Are we still on this?
Yeah, because you asked me what the totals are. Before I tell him what the totals are, we've got to tell him what my dispute is. Our dispute, yes?
I know it. I watched the podcast.
Okay,
I was sick, and you said because you didn't.
Silk, I
didn't make a prediction, right?
No, because he didn't. He didn't either. Listen, that's what it was, Gary. To recap, listen, we were doing a show about something else. Then we mentioned McMahon and Jonas at the end, and he said, "So what's your prediction?" I said, "Well, you want to do this?"
Wait. We have to let the people who are the people that are.
But let me explain what happened to Gary. You know, I said, "Are you gonna?" No, hang on. I said, "Are you?" are you going to make a prediction too then? I said, because I said, I fancied the underdog, Maya. I think they're sleeping on her. Then I said, we're only doing this if we both make a pick. He said he would get his pick in before the first bell rang. He didn't do it. And I'm like, okay, it's null and void then because he didn't take part in it. There was that's not a competition, one person picking. The fact that Maya was robbed blind does not endear me to the situation either.
Okay.
Well,
no. Wait a minute, Gary. Wait a minute. Gary.
Didn't make the choice. It's not a loss.
He didn't make.
But,
thank you.
No, but if you made the choice and were right, you'd get the win. But he would not get the loss.
I actually said to myself as soon as he didn't put a prediction, and I said it's null and void. I didn't tell him that.
But Ben, if Silk doesn't make the prediction, but you do, you're still putting yourself out there, so you would get the win, and Silk record wouldn't be affected. He doesn't get the loss for that, but he gets.
No, I'm not asking him to get a loss. What I'm saying is I shouldn't be exposed to when nobody else took part in it.
Ben,
you're wrong, pal, and on the wind-up system.
What's been very revealed at the minute is you seem to have an obsession, Ben, about beating Silk.
No, not at all. He's the one with the obsession.
You're right. You're so right, Gary.
It's true, huh?
Yeah,
no,
so
it isn't
true.
because
Ben,
before that we were 75.
He said himself.
You're saying it's not too late. Saying I don't love you.
No, he said exactly. He said himself that he would rather he'd lose if I'm going to lose, rather than to see me win and him win.
Yeah, because you were getting well cocky and really basking in this, and I was actually rooting for Gary, even though me and you were on the same thing, because you were semi unbearable after the Fury Ngannou thing. You were like Silk Stradamus.
That was an amazing call, though. I mean,
you've never gotten over that, have you?
And why would I get over it? That was one of the most impeccable. Like, who calls it cleaner than that? I should have just said the round too.
I've given you an example of someone who called it cleaner than that, and she doesn't know anything about boxing. She just got lucky. I'm giving you an example.
Okay, well,
you're telling me that Ryder's the favorite for this fight?
No, he isn't. He's a fourth. He's because
this guy's 42-0.
He's an underdog.
Gary. So Ben does not get that.
But no, fuck it. I'll take the loss.
His record or
you can have it. You can have it.
Let me ask you something, Ben. I'm looking at this guy, 42-0, but he's never fought for a title.
Well, I believe he has at light middleweight. Wasn't he a light middleweight world champion, I believe? I know it's getting devalued in this day and age, but I believe he has been a world champion at light middleweight.
I don't believe he has.
I'm sure someone could tell us that.
I'm looking at Box Rec now, and normally it gives you when it's a title fight, and it's just...
No, it doesn't anymore. You have to click on the fight. You have to click on the fight to actually see it.
Okay, we're hopping all over the place like the gang of crickets or locusts.
No, you know what, Ben? I'll tell you something. He's not fought for a title. I'll tell you for why. How I know. Or no, he may have.
He has, I'm pretty sure.
Liam Smith, he beat.
Yeah. And Jake Kilroy Kelly.
So what's the record, Ben?
Liam Smith, he should beat John.
Listen, take the fact that you didn't even partake, so you didn't take any risk.
No.
And the fact that Mayor got robbed, you can still have it. No,
I'm
you can have
asking you
it.
honestly, what's Gary's record? Gary is
7-3. You're a 7-3, and I'm 7-6. Take it. We've still all got 7-1s right.
Okay, so who are you on for this fight?
I suspect my prediction would be Munguia on points. It might be disputed. I think it will go the distance. I really do think that. And I think Munguia will get his hand held up. There might be some argument about it, but that's what I'll go with. Silk's going to do his tomorrow. He's going to send it by smoke signal.
Gary, you're so angry. I mean, Ben, you're so angry. I've never seen you. I've never seen him with it.
Have you ever seen a therapist, Ben?
This is steam coming out of his ears. Look at that.
What has he done to get you to this point?
You know why? It's an handicap. Handicap used to flip up like this and go around in circles. But
it was domestic violence.
Ben, you got flushed and you're moving around a lot.
You can tell when he's not sitting in his chair, his cheeks leave his chair. The angrier he gets.
I'm glad you never fought Silk. He'd have got you before the fight.
Yeah, maybe. No, that would have been a different thing.
No, he'd have psyched you out, or he's done you already on the show. I mean, I love you, Ben. You're my boy, but he's got you under your skin.
If we did it today, I reckon I'd win the stare down.
Yeah, I think so.
No, I'd be undeviating with one eye. Forget about
Yeah.
it. Okay, so
So I'll go one guy or two.
7-3, Gary. We're
He's
7-3.
obsessed with his numbers. Listen to him.
7-3 are you and I, and 7-6 is Ben.
Yeah.
So you're like, what do you bat? You're batting like an average of 400 and
Ben's
you're
like, we're like racehorses, and he's a bit like a donkey at the minute.
Oh, all right. Ask me one thing, Gary. Ask me one thing. Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
agree that I should be 8-5 because Maya won the fight?
Huh?
I should be 8-5 because Michaela Mayer won that fight.
No, you can't. If she lost it on the
No,
Scott.
what I'm saying. What's your opinion? Did you watch the fight?
Yes.
Do you agree that I should be 8-5 if they'd have scored it right?
No.
Well, you thought Jonas won that fight?
No.
No, you don't. So
No.
you do agree.
I thought it was a draw.
Okay, so what happens if it's a draw? What do we do
I
by
thought
that?
well, if it's a draw, no score. But I think
you have to go. You have to go by the officials. What the officials?
No, what I'm saying is, what happens if we get a draw in future? We haven't had one yet. What
if
happens
it's a
in
draw, the records remain the same.
Right,
We all get a loss because we.
No,
picked
so
the
if it's a draw, then yeah, we get lost because they said
get
it's
a
a
loss
draw.
because we said
Nobody
it's a
called it
win.
a draw.
If I bet on a horse to win and it doesn't win,
Yeah, but if you
We
bet
did
on someone by
lose.
KO and it win on points, we still win in this, whereas you wouldn't at the bookies.
well, the thing is this: if you bet for her to win and she doesn't win, that's the reality. It's a loss, isn't it?
I understand that. What I'm saying is, we're not like the bookies because if you pick, for instance, Ryder by KO and he wins on points, you'll still win by our rules. You wouldn't win in the bookies.
Because we decided you don't have to call it.
Yeah,
that.
by the win. But
I know. So I'm
but
just
if it's a
clarifying that.
draw, we didn't get the win.
I understand that, but I'm just saying your analogy about the bookies is it needed quite, it needed put in context.
You have to correct me. Publicly. Is that your?
Then 7-5 is not that bad, really. You're at least batting above.
No, I'm 7-6 now because of this one, but it's cool. Let's go on with it.
You're not
It's a long.
so she never won.
I'm not. Yeah. Okay.
You
I
got
think
to go off the official record. You can't say I think she won, so I want the money.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is my appeal is based
I
on the fact that
wouldn't want to see you in the bookies.
my appeal.
You say I think my horse won. Bet it lost. I think it won. Pay me.
Now listen, my appeal is based on the fact no other cunt took place in the poll.
Hey Ben,
That is
you
what
go
it
to
is.
jail for that shit.
My appeal is based on the fact that he didn't actually tender.
I want you to put my betting slips on in the book. Ben goes in with a 12 gauge. Gary's horse won. No, it came third. I say it won.
Well, I identify as the winning better. Yeah, that's the difference.
What was your record as an amateur?
26-12.
So it was 26. So it was 38-0.
38-126.
38-0.
Yeah. Well,
you
do you
want
know
all
what?
those-
They were all bad decisions. They were all
Yeah.
terrible decisions and dozen.
If they were all terrible decisions, you were 26 losses and 12 wins.
It could have been the other way around. Yeah.
That's funny. Oh my God, my ribs.
So we got to go off the record, Ben. So you have to take another hit. You lost.
Yeah, I think we wasted too much time on that, but there we go. That is what it is. Let's see. This is a long game. Okay. So what do you reckon? I made my prediction. Are you making yours, Silk, or do you want to wait till tomorrow?
You're not on tomorrow.
You know what? I do have to jump. I don't know if I can make that decision within the few seconds I have left.
You're gonna have to.
I may have to wait till tomorrow. I'm just joking. I'm going to go with Mungia.
So we're all the same.
Yeah.
So we all think Mungia is going to win. Jaime Mungia. So okay. Well, that was relatively simple, wasn't it?
That was.
And then let's get that point back, huh? So that we've still got the same amount of wins at the moment. It's just I've got more losses than you guys.
No,
but
that's not a minor thing either.
Because I've had more fights.
I'd much rather have 2 losses than 8 losses or 6 losses.
How many did you have officially, by the way, in your paid career? Not that I don't know, but
in my paid career,
yes,
I think. Well, okay. So there's the perfect example, right? Here's a perfect example of what you just did. I fought this guy Dennis Milton, right? They talked about before. He beat a lot of McClellan and all those guys before. I fought him. I knocked him out in the 10th round. I knocked him out. Like, he was out. The referee waved the fight over and everything like this. They went to a decision. The referee after like 5 minutes said, "Oh, the fight was over." He waved me off. He pulled me off him. The kid was out on his feet. He goes, "I thought I heard a bell." From there, they thought they heard the bell. From there, they took it to the athletic commission. The commission says, "Well, we can't do anything." The referee said he thought he heard a bell. They gave him that decision. I knocked him out. In fact, it was like this. Milton's people, his managers, came to Randy Gordon, who was the commissioner at the time, and they said to him, "We're going to throw you out the effing window if you don't give this fight to my guy."
Yeah.
He said that to him. It was documented in the newspaper, New York Newsday and the Daily News. And, he goes, "I don't want to get thrown out the window." So they gave him the fight. It's like, but bro, what's your job? Like, what is your job? Your job is to oversee it. But anyway, my point is, no matter what, the fact is, on my record, I have a loss that I shouldn't have. I legally, officially knocked him out.
I've lost the same. I've lost the same with the Julian Monville clash of heads. Clearly on the ropes, I'm trying to hit him. He bounces off, hits me, clash of heads. That's a non-contest, and they give it a loss.
Yeah.
I mean, it's clear there was no issue. Even commentary, wow, terrible clash of heads.
Ben, so it's not like we're not sympathetic to your plight. It's not like we're unsympathetic to your plight. It's just the fact that on a scale of grandioseness and stuff like that, yours is a little less.
Okay, I know you have to run Silk. I know you have to run Silk, but we'll play a game.
Okay.
You can ask Ben any question you like. We get one each.
Ask Ben any
question. I'll ask him mine first, and then you can say.
Okay.
Ben, what is the deep-rooted nature of your wanting to beat Silk and everything he does?
I don't think that actually exists. I think that's a phenomenon that you perceive. But we'll say he got a little he got a little annoying after the Ngannou Fury thing, and I started thinking because he was like that kiss the ring thing, and all the rest of it. After that, I was like, upside, if Silk wins, I win. But the upside is if Gary wins, at least Silk doesn't think he's absolutely, like he don't think he's Nostradamus. I think it came from there, but and
let me ask you, do you often have sleepless nights when thinking about Silk and this quest?
I got to tell you that I don't. No, it's I sleep pretty soundly at night. But
have you spoken to
it's funny though. The dynamic between me and Silk, as we've spoken about before, has changed as we've got to know each other better. There's more of this kind of rivalry and banter and that kind of thing. Well, obviously, when I first spoke to him, I was like, I can't believe Michael is Silk Elijah. What an honor this is. And, and we're both very mutually polite and complimentary. Now we know each other better. Look, me and you, we're already good friends, right, Gary? And part of that's because we've already gone to that. You've already said to me,
shared a pie with me in my house.
Yeah, and you've already sounded off at me and said, "I'll fucking destroy you if you do X, Y, and Z."
Well, yeah.
Friends, right?
Guys, this is getting good, but I gotta run. Oh my god.
Where are you going? Okay, just tell us where you're going.
I gotta go.
Where are you going?
He wants to know where you're going.
Money awaits.
Okay, go.
Okay, he's got a session, a PT. We can finish it up. So what I was saying was part of the thing of being friends and becoming closer friends is when you have had a little bit of that conflict. Do you know what I mean?
You get closer, don't you, normally? Yeah.
When you've gone beyond the politeness and just being mutually kind of complimentary and appreciative, friends actually have these little things and fallouts too, don't they?
And they get closer, always. Especially, I've had fights with my mates and you end up even closer, Yeah. So Ben, any thoughts on this Fury and Ngannou last to sum up?
You mean Joshua?
Joshua and Ngannou. Any different thoughts as time's gone by?
Well, we've still got until March the 8th for that fight to take place. So,
have you revisited the Fury Ngannou fight to look at Ngannou?
Me and you tried to, and the computer was playing up. The Wi-Fi was playing up when you was in London at the hotel. So we didn't really get a chance to watch it, and I haven't done since. I
I
still
really-
don't quite know what happened.
I
That
don't
night.
remember Ngannou at all, how he fought, other than everyone kept saying it was so close. I didn't see him hit Fury at all, did you?
Well, he obviously hit him when he put him over, but
It was a very, yeah, but other than that, it wasn't like you didn't see. It's a strange fight. I just saw it was a hard fight for Fury physically. He looked tired at the end, but I didn't really see like him getting hit or pressured but I didn't see him do a whole lot to Ngannou either. It looked like just an awkward fight.
Well, Ngannou looks very stand-up and quite conventional to me. You know, strong, pressing. But he looked a bit novice, to be honest with you, but he was extraordinarily effective against the guy as a WBC heavyweight champion of the world. I don't think Fury took him seriously, whatever he says, however much he says he trained very hard. It didn't look like he had done it, and his performance didn't indicate that. And I just think Joshua really ought to do a number on the fella, Gary. Because
let me ask you this, Ben, because I heard he trained hard for the fight, right? But I also heard, listen to this, and I want to know your view on it. So I think it's quite clear that he trained hard for the fight. Even Joseph Parker said they were doing 10 rounds, 12.
What about the physical look of him, though? I mean,
No, this is the question. This is the question we're going to ask you, and this is a question that's maybe the viewers want to hear. So they said, everyone said he trained hard for the fight, but everyone said he never dieted for the fight. He was eating McDonald's, eating all kinds of shit all the time. Yeah. So the fact, like I always thought, if you train hard, the only reason we diet is we have a weight limit. Yeah. But I would love to have trained hard every day and eat what I want. But obviously, if you're eating excessively, the training's not doing enough to keep, and you're getting heavier and heavier, then it is going to affect you, right?
You know what Terry Marsh said a while? He said this quite recently when he was on Facebook still, and we were talking about diet. And he had this interesting, rather attractive philosophy when he said, my belief is that as long as you eat the good stuff, you can have as much as the bad stuff as you like. Because if you train as hard as one should, you will burn it off. So, but that's Terry probably had those kind of genetics. Probably,
you need the nutrients. You know what I mean? If you're getting the shit food and you're not getting your vitamins and your minerals, and you're just eating garbage, then you're going to deplete your body. When you're putting all that effort out and putting no nutrition in, if you're eating garbage, then you're going to get weak. You need the nutrition. So if
what do you think about eating good and bad then, and training really hard and eating?
I think as long as you get your main elements that the body needs to recover, because you need a certain amount of protein and minerals and vitamins and fluids. If you're replenishing the body fully from the trauma of training and eating excessively or eating shit on the side, I think you're fine to a degree, unless you eat so much garbage that you start to gain weight, and then the weight becomes an issue.
Yeah.
But I think to have a free meal and not have to skip and not have a more relaxing training camp, as long as you're not taking a piss, I think it would be great. But I think if you go excessively either way, then it's going to be a negative. But also, Henry Cooper, never forget, and he wasn't the most technical guy in the world. I'll never forget, it was just something he said, fighters should always fight hungry.
He believed that, he looked at Lennox Lewis getting ready for someone like Zelko Mavrovich, I believe it was, back in the 90s. And he said, where had he been training? He said, I looked like a skeleton when I was in training. And he didn't like the fact that Lennox looked a bit full in the face. And, these old school heavyweights, they would train down. Rocky Marciano used to train himself down to 13.5 stone. Quite a big frame man, naturally, but he would really train himself down because he thought it was important for his condition and his stamina to, so they would diet like they had to make weight, Gary, some of these old heavyweights,
Yeah.
They don't do that anymore.
I think, Ben, there's something in when you're really like 100%, meaning you don't have a bit of fat or a bit of extra, right?
Yeah.
I think maybe when your absolute prime, maybe the reaction's a little better. Maybe everything's a little better when you're 100% on the money, rather than it being a little soft. Maybe your reflexes, maybe that's why they got themselves, because it is, when you get down to weight, well, not so much down to weight, but down to like the week before the fight, when it's all like the week before the fight for me. I was always, if I could fight everyone on the week before, I was knocking sparring partners out week before Eubanks, and then coming up to the fight, they were giving me a hard time because I was getting tired,
getting weaker.
Yeah. So it was. I kept saying I think I should have if I'd have pulled back, been smart enough to pull back and not train so much, but because if you're undertrained, you can pull it out. But if you're overtrained, you got nothing to draw on,
Yeah.
And that was the thing. And for me, I was so insecure because I didn't have the time. I overtrained and I ended up sick. I ended up depleted. I was worn out. I was tired, and it was stupid because I should have just switched off and said enough's enough. Trusted that if I need it, I can pull it out. But what does happen is when you're exhausted, you've got nothing to pull out. When you've no reserves. So yeah, I think that's
supposedly Kerry Kay's a nutritionist who's famous in boxing circles and working with Ricky Hatton. He said it's impossible to overtrain. You can only undernourish. Having said that, that quote is secondhand. Tunde Ajayi told it to me. He told me Kerry Kay's told him that. So I don't know if Kerry Kay signs off on that. But I don't know what you think of the idea that you can only undernourish.
Well, that's what I was saying. I think the thing is with boxing, when the amount of work that you put out, if you don't get the nutrition, you're going to deplete, and that's when it becomes a negative. You have to get the depletion because you break your body down every day, and if you don't fuel it, you're slowly going to diminish. It's called atrophy. When you don't eat, it's like if you don't eat enough protein every day, your body holds on to fat.
Yeah.
Because it says I'm being starved, so it holds on to the fat. So people think I just don't eat, I'm going to lose weight. No, when you stop eating regularly, your body says I'm being starved, it then shuts down, holds onto the fat, and then it starts to eat the muscle. It starts to eat itself, so you end up skinny with a belly. I tell people all the time, you've got to get, if you eat. Arnold Schwarzenegger told me, I sat in a cafe in LA and we was having a coffee, and we're talking about nutrition, and he said the biggest, best kept secret ever: have a shake in the morning, protein when you wake up, and a shake when you go to bed. He said after a certain amount of hours, your body knows it's getting fed regularly, protein. He said you start burning fat in bed. You'll start to burn the pockets of fat, but the body will use them because it loves it for energy. But he said if you stop taking the intake of protein and the body's not getting it, the body shuts down and holds onto the fat. So he said you have to keep regular protein. You see these bodybuilders, they're ripped. They're eating 50 fucking eggs a day.
Yeah.
But the body's eating all the fat it can find,
Yeah.
So
he said what? Protein shake morning and night, yeah?
He said have a protein shake morning, protein shake at night. And he said once the body knows on a regular basis, 2-3 days, it feels it's getting constantly fed, then you start to burn fat naturally. You said the body's a machine. It has two functions. When you're getting regular protein, it will use energy, fat as carbohydrates. It will use the fat and stuff to burn energy. When you don't eat protein, it stops that process. The body's smart. It says, I'm not getting protein. So it stops that, and it holds on to the fat because it thinks I need some reserve.
Yeah.
Because, and then it starts to eat the protein, its own body.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And you end up
metabolic state.
Yeah. And it's called atrophy. And so you end up thin with a belly. So it's very, very unhealthy. But if you eat, and these protein shakes now, you're not getting fat in them. They're so lean, the protein shakes that they do, and science has come so far. So if you're not a bodybuilder, you're just a regular person, get a shake in the morning, or have a 3/4 shake in the morning and a 3/4 shake hour before you go to bed, and be active, and your body should get into a cycle where it naturally burns fat. Yeah.
So we're doing our own nutrition show right now, but I'm going to ask you while we're on this sort of subject. A former British champ said to me once he thought it was better to make your own protein shakes with egg whites and peanut butter. What do you think about that? Or do you have an opinion on it?
No, I think if you have good product and you know what to use for protein, sure. But the problem is, people give people advice, and the people who take the advice maybe don't always take it correctly. And there's also the only problem with doing it yourself is measurement. You know, are you overdoing it or underdoing it? Whereas when you get the the protein, the shakes, they give you the measurement to take every day, and so they give you a scientific amount. Other people, if you eat too much of anything, you're going to gain weight. So if people throwing protein and peanut butter and all this every day, they're going to get fucking fat. So also, if you've got to do something. You can't sit on the couch and eat this shit every day. You have to get somewhat active and get the body functioning, even if it's a walk and push-ups or sit-ups. Do something that every day a little bit. But I like the shakes that you buy, and of course there's some are good and some are bad, but at least you get a measure, and it's a science. Yeah. But I'm all for natural food, and I think people who are doing this kind of stuff and doing the natural peanut butter and whatever, they're obviously conscious of their body. That's why they're doing it. So they just got to trust themselves. Never, not to overdo it. They'll know when they feel good or feel bad.
Have you ever taken creatine?
Yes.
What do you reckon?
I never really got into it. It used to make me feel a bit wiry.
Did it?
Yeah. All I do is when I'm training at my best, I do a shake in the morning before the gym, and the shake is berries, banana, almond milk, protein powder, teaspoon of spirulina powder, sometimes one raw egg, blend it, drink it, go to the gym, train, come home, have either breakfast or lunch, depending what time I went to the gym. So I eat again, some protein, but clean protein. And then nighttime, I'll have a meal, which will be I try and do carbohydrates in the day, pastas and potatoes or whatever, and try and do it before I train. And then at nighttime, I'll have a protein, fish, chicken, meat, whatever, with vegetables. Yeah. If I'm training to get results.
Yeah.
Generally for me, if I just train every day, I eat what I want, I'm fine, because I have a naturally slim. I don't get fat.
Yeah, you're more that. My dad called it a thoracic build or whatever, where you burn a lot.
But it's funny, my two brothers are bigger than me, and I think they're bigger than me based on lifestyle. I think the years of dieting for me, I think it somewhat damaged me. Not damaged, but maybe it's a good thing. But it got me in my body's kind of in tune to be in
starvation mode. Yeah.
Although that's not the case with a lot of fighters, like the Ricky Hattons and all these guys, they can blow up. But I think the blowing up mostly you'll find is alcohol, and and especially beer drinkers, because beer, wine, it's all sugar. It's all sugar.
Ricky likes Guinness, doesn't he?
And that turns to sugar. That's the problem,
I think with Ricky, he was such an example of a kind of yin-yang fighter that he was very, very disciplined in camp, and he would eat 11 small meals a day. I used to hear, just like chicken and tiny amounts of chicken and green veg and meal supplements. And then as soon as he boxed, he was on the piss, he was on the lash. He'd go on holiday with his mates, and he would drink and drink and drink, and he would eat loads of comfort food, McDonald's, curries, KFC, all the rest of it, and so he could put on 3 stone, 3 or 4 stone, I think, in between fights sometimes.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been a stone over fight weight in my life.
You don't look to me anytime I've seen you.
No, I'm now I'm a little bit skinny because I had this accident, and I haven't been able to train, and so I'm still not. I'm trying to do a little bit at the minute, but it's not good. But when I don't train, I lose weight. And so, because like I get into this atrophy thing, and when I'm not training, I'm not eating as much, but I just when I train, my body loves it, and it loves the fuel. But when I stop training, I don't blow up. I actually get skinny, which I don't like. Yeah. So, Ben, we have to run because I have I'm in the mode to go and make some movies, so I'm trying to get some things off the ground here in America, and I got a bunch of meetings all day today. So
wicked. Well, Good luck with all of that.
I'll talk to you later, probably tomorrow. But we're back on Sunday, right?
Back on Sunday. Speak to you later.
Okay. God bless.
Thanks all for tuning in. Be lucky. Keep punching.